Ladies, gentlemen, amphibians, welcome to the podcast. We're going to get right into it. I think we have a really great show for you tonight. Depending on when you're listening to this, maybe in the morning, you're going to enjoy it, I think. We have a guest who we're going to bring. I want you guys to be introduced to immediately. She's going to be on for the whole time, and her name is Amanda.
You're right.
How are we doing, Amanda?
Doing good. I'm just planning on kind of rolling with it. This is my first Pondcast and podcast, so we'll see how it goes.
It's best to have your first podcast be a Pondcast.
I've always said that.
Yeah, that's what I've been. That's kind of one of our sticking points. Can you tell us? So you are newly acquired talent here at the Turtle Room. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you're up to now?
Absolutely, yes. I'm very excited to now be a part of the Turtle Room's team of just people working, not just doing this one podcast thing, but actually kind of an ongoing position as the social media coordinator. So that means I'm going to be kind of formulating a lot of the stuff you see on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And it's something that I kind of have a knack for anyway, so it'll be exciting to put
your
that.
Instagram is amazing. I love your Instagram.
Thank you.
I found it. I found it the other day, and I just started scrolling through, and it was like, I think you have a very cool life. I don't know if you know that, but you probably do. But
yeah,
I was very impressed with just the how happy you look with all the animals. You seem like you're having a good time.
Yeah, I try. Yeah, it was definitely like an accidental thing that just kind of, at first I was like, here's pictures of my dogs, and then I started like doing cooler stuff, and people started noticing. So I was kind of forced to get good at it, like learn about hashtags and like all this weird stuff, and kind of just became this monster I created that I'm trying to put towards good use.
Right. Yeah. Why did that? So that wasn't you didn't try to like build a following or whatever. You just started doing. It was just something you were enthusiastic about and it caught on, that type of thing?
Exactly, yes.
That's
I
cool.
was totally like...
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Well, I think she was going to say she was totally excited about bringing her talents to the Turtle Room. We're good. We're good. We're back. We're back.
There's one of the many surprises of the podcast there.
We like to keep you on your
technology for you.
That never happens. That never happens. I think it's good. I think it's a good sign. Yeah, I think it's a good sign.
I think you were saying something that was probably not important. That's why I got cut off.
Exactly. They were like, Amanda, we're done with this.
Yeah. I mean, Steve, we can give her a little warning when we're going to cut, when we're going to play the orchestra real loud and we have to cut her off. We can do it a little more subtly, I think.
Wonderful. I knew something like that was going to happen, by the way. I was like, something terrible is going to happen in my first podcast. Just be prepared for that, Amanda. So let's see here. I think I got my...
You just get it out of the way.
I'm back.
Anything that happens from here on out is just a bonus. You've already gotten past the rough part.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we're playing with house money now.
I was also going to say, in terms of this being your first podcast ever, you never forget your first. You never forget your first.
No, there's always going to be something that happens that's like, oh yeah, that was terrible.
That sounds very pessimistic. I hope that that's not actually the case.
It can only go up from here. It can only go up from here.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yes. Anyway, as we were doing and saying.
Yeah. So we were just talking about how you got to where you are, which right now you are. So you worked at the New England Aquarium.
Yeah.
And then now you work in. You live where now? I don't know.
I actually just moved to Atlanta, and so I had to leave my job at the New England Aquarium, and I also worked for NERD, New England Reptile Distributors, and kind of just between those two things, I was doing a lot of really cool stuff. And now it hasn't been the coolest point of my life yet, but the Turtle Room certainly has made things more exciting for me, and I'm slowly but surely, doing some more interviews and trying to get into a few avenues down here. So I think probably within a month or two, I'll have found something new and exciting to get involved with. But it's kind of a weird transition in my life right now.
So you just picked up and went down there because you thought it would be better to live down there?
I lived here for the first 4 years after high school. I went to school down here for a while, and I loved it, but I kind of just ran out of money and had to go back home to Boston. And then I ended up getting the job at the aquarium, which kept me there a little longer, finished up school. But I always kind of planned on coming back down here because I love the South. I love how it's just littered with reptiles, and it's just a cool place. It's a place that I kind of felt I needed to end up.
Interesting. So why Atlanta specifically in the South?
Well, I'm not much of a city person. I actually live with my boyfriend here, so he kind of is. And so we compromise like with a good place that's kind of just on the outskirts of Atlanta.
Okay.
And I do actually really like Atlanta as far as cities go too. I
Yeah.
like being close to like the aquarium and the zoo
Yeah, it's a good
and
city.
stuff like that. Yeah, it is. So
And you can go north like an hour and you're in like Chattahoochee National Forest is like that's like as far away from anything as you can be. It's so cool up there too.
Yeah, I feel like it's very much a city inside of a forest. I think that's what a lot of people actually call it.
Yeah.
So I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not. I feel like that doesn't get enough play. That the fact that like when I think of Atlanta, I think of like I think of food and I think of Ludacris. Mostly. Those are the two. Like I think of. I don't think of the woods, which is a good. That's a cool idea to have a city in the middle of the woods. That's like it's like a Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah, especially if you go northwest, it's very wooded.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. That's another good area.
It is so pretty. One of the things I love about Georgia is that it is such an all-encompassing state. Like you have Atlanta, this big city, then you have all these crazy forests. You actually have like this big temperate rainforest down in the south with like a huge swamp, Okefenokee Swamp. It's like amazing. Then you go to the shore and you're like,
swamp name.
I've been there.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Okefenokee. It's amazing. Tons of turtles down there too. It's incredible. And then you can go to the beach and you have sea turtles and you have this tropical place and you feel like you're in Florida and there's like islands and stuff. It's really cool.
And then you have Savannah that's like a really weird little kind of a niche city. Have you been to Savannah before?
Yes, I have. Savannah's probably my favorite place in Georgia so far that I've been. It's awesome.
That's cool.
Really recommend it. Very cool.
Is there a lot of wildlife stuff going on there? I mean, I know obviously it's right by the beach, so they have like.
Yeah, they actually have pretty much most of the sea turtles that you can find in the United States are found in Georgia. They have nesting beaches for loggerheads and leatherbacks, and they've got tons of stuff going on down there. And then diamondback terrapins. Yeah, Jinx.
One of our, in fact, that's a great time to plug a good friend of ours, Jordan Gray. He's part of an organization called TERPS, the Terrapin Education Program of Savannah. So anybody who lives in that area is interested in getting involved with diamondback terrapin things, check out TERPS.
And just going to plug in my hat also here that I brought just in case it would like be super cool. It does have a terrapin on it, so
nice.
I wear this out in public. Nobody yet has asked me like, is that a diamondback terrapin? Which I kind of hope that they will, so I can like talk to them about it. But you never know.
I love that you had the hat sitting next to like we're ready just for like the prop department was right there. Oh, here's my diamondback terrapin hat in case it comes up.
It was like an emergency bad hair thing where I'm like, if my hair is really not cooperating, I can just put this on and be like, I just love turtles. That's it.
Right. We like to just ignore our hair situations on this podcast. Generally, if you have a problem, just let it rock. We don't worry about it. Please don't wear a hat to cover it up. So are sea turtles? Is that a big thing for you? Is that something that got you like into? Is that where it started with sea turtles?
Surprisingly not. It was kind of one of these things that I kind of am surprised it didn't click sooner because I've always been really into turtles and I've always been really into marine biology. But for the longest time, sea turtles were. You'd think that it would just kind of click, but for the longest time, sea turtles were kind of just those things like, oh yeah, I love watching them on TV or a nice calendar with sea turtles, but I didn't really know a lot about them. They kind of just seemed like that mythical, untouchable animal, kind of like whales, where you're just like, yeah, they're just so beautiful, but I really don't know a lot about them. Right. And so I was always super into reptiles and super into marine biology, and of course, that brought me right into working with sea turtles. And when I started working at the New England Aquarium, they have a huge sea turtle rescue program there because down in up now because I'm in Atlanta, up in Cape Cod, since they have such a weird geography, that like hook of Cape Cod, the sea turtles.
Me and my family stay right here. Falmouth.
And that's how we all talk about it. We're like, yeah, we're going up here. Yep, Falmouth. And every time I do a talk on sea turtles, I'm like, so then there's this. People just know exactly what I'm talking about. But the young Kemp's Ridley sea turtles, which are the most endangered species of sea turtle in the world, and loggerheads and greens come up with the Gulf Stream, and they're never like mature adults. They're always like these little juveniles that really don't have any course in their life. They're just kind of exploring, learning how to be a sea turtle, trying to stay alive. And they come up every year with the Gulf Stream, and then for some reason, even though tons of other animals come in, whales, sharks, all types of stuff, come in, they feed in this really nutrient-rich area, a lot of upwelling in there, which means basically a lot of nutrients being brought from the bottom up into that area. It's just a really, really productive zone. And the sea turtles, every year, they get stuck in the hook of Cape Cod. They just can't seem to find their way out. So they wash up on the shores because they get cold stunned, because of course they're reptiles. So whenever the winter starts to come in, which usually happens like overnight for Massachusetts and most of the northern states, as you guys know very well, it just overnight gets really cold, and then they start washing up on the shores. And so it just seemed like such an awesome opportunity to do some really cool stuff. Basically, you're just going out on the beaches at like 2 a.m. to go find sea turtles.
You FedEx them to the other side of the island? Is that what it is? How do they?
What was that?
You FedEx them to the other side of the arm to down to Turtle?
Like, all right, there you go. Yeah, I wish. Gosh, and there's nothing that they could ever do to teach them how to get out. It's just like it kind of has to happen. So, and once they wash up, they're like critical. So they have to do the whole rehabilitation thing. It takes months. But it's just all encompassing. You get to go out on the beaches and collect them, and then help them, become healthy turtles again. And that, of course, you can't do that and come out of that with like, sea turtles are still meh. Like, you just become obsessed with them after that.
Is that like they have like PTSD? Is that like they get like messed up because they got washed up? Is that what it is?
That's so funny that you say that, because it's actually like they don't even know how to be a sea turtle at first, and they're just like, what do I do? And you have to like truly teach them how to swim again, and like it's unbelievable. You would think that they would just kind of bounce back, and they are really resilient, but you have to we have like little kiddie pools, and you have to teach them how to swim again and how to eat, and it's crazy. And then we do therapy sessions.
Or do they learn easy, or are they like I'm trying to teach my niece to swim and she's terrible. It's like really.
So they need the water wings for sure, the little the floaties,
and
they are definitely jerks about it for sure. They're like they won't eat, and it's just like you have to bribe them to eat. Basically, we want them to eat like really nutrient-rich stuff, but all of them just want to eat shrimp, and that's like crap for them. But you have to give them shrimp for the first 12 months, no, not 12 months, like 12 weeks of their. It's just they're brats for sure.
I feel like sea turtles are like. If there was I don't know if you saw Zootopia, but how did you see that? Did anyone see Zootopia?
No,
here?
but I've seen commercials. Maybe I can.
So they have like the different species of animal kind of take on the personality. So like this is this animal is the mobsters and whatever. But long story to explain that. I think that sea turtles in that type of setting are movie stars. I feel like they're very prima donnas, and they're like the prettiest thing. Like everyone knows about sea turtles. Everyone thinks they're really cool. And I feel like they know that they have that power. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not behaving the way that a musk turtle would behave. Like
they absolutely are. Yep, they're just like, I'm a sea turtle, so, what do you think? I'm like a freshwater turtle?
Oh, well, you want me to swim? No, teach me.
Do you think I don't have feet here, so I'm not going on the land. Sorry. I need to be in the ocean. Yeah.
Sidebar, Zootopia was really good.
I've heard that. My little brother saw it, and he was like, "You need to see this movie." Like, and he's like 8.
It was a lot. It was not a kids movie, man. The themes were very. It was very intense.
I love that.
You didn't take your daughter to see it or anything? Did she go to the movies yet?
We don't go to the movies because Dad can't control himself around the snack bar.
I just always smuggle in snacks. Is that okay to admit here?
Absolutely.
Like I just put them in my purse because it's so expensive at the movie theater.
We're in the circle of trust.
My favorite thing to do is to go to the movies, load up before, give it to the person that I'm going with something to load up with, and then as soon as Tony knows, as soon as I get to the counter, I then tell the person at the counter that he's sneaking in stuff, he or she. That's one of my all-time moves.
That has happened, yeah.
That's terrible.
Because Tony, I took my niece to see it, and it was like she was obviously she's a little bit older than your daughter, but it's an interesting bringing a kid to a movie is a very very difficult thing. I'd rather bring a sea turtle, I think.
Me too.
Because I know people are in place and they're going to be quiet.
Take them to see Finding Nemo.
Believe it or not, sea turtles are a lot less than people are like, oh, they're so beautiful. No, they you pick them up and they're just they literally smack you in the face like this.
Which another so funny thing of they're so defenseless against us, but they hit hard, they move, but it's just like it's a flipper, so it's just such a different thing. They're
literally slap in the face, karate chop, they have all these moves.
When she was talking about,
I just totally missed that.
It's funny you were saying that when when you were talking about like rehabbing them and they didn't know how to do anything yet. I don't know why. I'm such an idiot, but I don't know why. But the movie, I can't remember the title of the movie, but it was the Steven Seagal movie where he's in a coma for 7 months and he has to like slowly work back to health, and then all of a sudden he's like out snapping necks and arms and femurs again. Do you know what I'm talking about? Anyone? No.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about karate chops, but it's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's like their signature move. That's so weird. It came full circle.
It did. For me, I'm sitting here and I'm having this entire fantasy about Steven Seagal.
You were speechless for a second there. That's why I was like, I missed it. And you were just like,
yeah, I thought we had he was freezing. He was freezing on the air.
No more computer glitches. That was honestly just the biggest mental battle I've ever had with myself.
So do we think sea turtles are more like ninjas than Hollywood stars then?
It's so funny when you like start, and you guys are probably all seen,
you could be both.
They absolutely, but it's because animals, like, they are so different than how they're portrayed.
Yeah.
Like, obviously sea turtles are portrayed as these like just gorgeous, beautiful, majestic creatures, so peaceful, but they're like psychopaths.
Right.
And then like penguins too. All the time at the aquarium, I would get, they're so cute. I just want one as a pet. No, like they do the karate chopping in your at your throat. They will projectile poop everywhere. They will try to peck your eyeballs out. You actually have to be a certain height.
New England Aquarium. At the New England Aquarium, I saw the projectile poop.
On each other. It's just, yeah. I don't deal with that. And then you have to be a certain height to work with them so that they can't peck your eyeballs out, because they will try. They get abused, the penguin people. It's a labor of love for them. But everybody's like, they're so cute. I'm just like,
What's the height that you have to be, Amanda?
I think you have to be over 5'2", I think, at least, so that they're not like completely eye level with you and you're in the, I don't know, it's really weird. And they just think that they can completely or they think that you're very submissive if you're a certain amount smaller than they are on the rock. They're very, very sick animals, I guess. I don't know. They just do their thing.
I would beat the crap out of a penguin. I'm not afraid of that. 5'2"? No, you're not. I'm not. I'm okay with that.
I got really excited for a second. I thought maybe for us, like, it'd be a good, like, a new career path. Like, if you needed
have to be 6'5" or above.
Yeah, right, you have to be 6'8". Like, oh, perfect.
Like, people can do.
Career path.
Those are probably smaller penguins. Just think, you're probably over the required limit for an emperor penguin still.
Exactly. Yeah, these are just little Africans. They're like 2 feet tall. And yeah, it's funny because like if you were to get in an altercation with one, if one like clearly karate chopped you in the throat and you try to defend yourself, you're going to look like a jerk because nobody will believe you that you were attacked by a penguin or that the penguin is the instigator.
Right.
So it's just like
right. If you're the guy that that's like my nightmare would be like I'm the viral video of a guy punching a penguin and just knocking a penguin out.
Abused by
what we're really trying to tell us is that penguins in Madagascar were really not overblown at all.
Right,
no,
they are.
No, I thought that was very accurate. That they're just like these manipulative little animals. Very accurate. Absolutely.
Don't anybody tell this to Morgan Freeman or he's gonna die.
Oh no, I know. Oh, yeah, they were so
Well, you know how they're so we personify them so much to be nice and to be like they're so. I feel like so many movies they're like romantic because they talk about like like the male sits on the egg for like he's probably doing that because he's terrified of the female, not necessarily not because he's being like a good husband.
Yes,
definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Yep. That's it.
Being terrified of your spouse is something I'm familiar with, Tony.
Yes, right, exactly. And when Mr. Poppers comes out with his tell-all book, we'll know all about penguins and how they actually really act behind closed doors.
We actually have to tell people too at the aquarium that like people will be like, oh, they mate for life, that's so amazing, and we have to be like, well, actually, and this is like the true thing that we use. They're more like people where they kind of mate for life, or they strive to mate for life, but they usually and don't always mate for life. Like they've got. They have like the same kind of like where they like somebody, but then they decide they like somebody else.
Same line.
Yep. Yeah. And there's definitely been some very like dramatic things that went on. Like people get upset because they'd have 2 mated penguins, but then because of AZA and the species survival plan, you'd have to take one penguin and mate it with another one because they had those genes that they wanted to utilize, and that's what they wanted.
And then you make that first one watch.
Yep. Exactly.
Damn.
And it was just
it was
honestly like a soap opera.
I thought you were gonna say when they have to take a mated pair and like one of them has to get sent to another zoo. I feel like that's a Pixar movie waiting to happen. Like the daddy
That's
penguin has to. I
definitely
guess Finding Nemo is kind of that already. The daddy penguin has to find his way back. But I feel like here's my pitch: Finding Nemo on land with penguins.
Finding Penguin. Yep.
Finding penguins.
I like it. New Pixar movie, and definitely a tearjerker, and that's like the ultimate thing that it needs to be a Pixar movie. If it's gonna make adults cry.
Someone else, mommy's gonna have to die like immediately after they leave, and he doesn't know.
Oh God.
Is there too much? I'm sorry. Is there another good example of an animal that is wrongly perceived in something like that, like television or movies? Like we think of this. Like give me another good example. Like obviously I know one that I know is like bald eagles are like like the regal American thing, but like they're really like gross.
Clumsy and gross, and they make they make a different sound than they do in the movies. They use like the sound clips of vultures calling because it's much cooler, and you always hear that like "Wah!" That's like the eagles really sound like they sound terrible. So that's something I learned about eagles. But believe it or not, one of the most misrepresented animals, of course, is people usually hear are snakes. I have a couple of snakes, and they're literally people are like, oh, it's a snake, because they think it's just this horrible very very majestic killer that just is so calculated. But they're like the biggest dweebs, super clumsy. They'll like fall off anything.
Yeah, that's my favorite when the snake when they're climbing on something and they fall off. It's so funny.
And they're just like, and they bite themselves instead of their food all the time. They're the biggest clumsiest klutzes in the world, and I cannot take them seriously. Like if a snake's like looking at me like they're scared and they want to strike, I'm just like, really? And then they just miss and fall off something. It's just.
But you deal with venomous snakes though. Venomous snakes are the same way?
I mean, for a lot of the time they are. They take themselves way too serious. Like I've seen cobras before, like hooding up, and they look so scary, and then they fall off something, and you're just like, really? And you just have to get them back up, and it's so much easier to work with them once you really know what you're doing, because you realize how they're not these creatures that are going to fly at you. Like they very much so are limited because they have no legs. So that makes them really really hilarious most of the time. They get a lot done for.
I definitely agree that they're just generally the way that they're thought of is inaccurate. Like people are afraid of them. I don't know if it's a primal thing, like going back to when we're like if we're we see them as a threat in some specific way. Obviously they're not generally. I think that's definitely inaccurate. Like very like mean is just not what a snake is. They're dumber than like it. I think I get like a lovable clumsy dumb. Yeah.
They really are. That's the perfect way to describe it. And cows are much more dangerous, like statistically, than snakes are, at least in this country. And you think of a cow as being like this just simple-minded creature, but I've dealt with some pretty terrifying cows.
Please tell the story. No, I'm just kidding. That's fine. I'm not sure. I think this will tie into, so the way that we look at animals and the way that obviously has an effect on any of our relationships with them. And one of the things that, so obviously, I don't know if it was since you guys talked about it last time. I haven't been here in a few months, obviously, but I think that it just happened. But this was so with the SeaWorld deciding to give up on their orca program, I feel like that ties in a specific way of what they did right, which obviously no one is talking about what SeaWorld did right, and no one wants to defend them, and they're jerks, and I, in a lot of ways, and I understand that, and I don't think that they're as bad as everyone seems to make them out to be, though, because what they did was they were trying to, and this is what they said in their statement, everyone was like really happy, they were trying to educate people, and now that we have the certain amount of education, now we know what we know, and we can then move on to the next step of, okay, maybe it's not safe to have them in captivity. And I don't know how you feel about any of this in general, but I feel like that was just a bridge to something that I wanted to talk about because we didn't get to, we haven't talked about that in a while ago since we watched Blackfish, and we had a little bit of a roundtable on that. So I wanted to see what your viewpoint was on that. Obviously you work in an aquarium, so you have a different viewpoint.
Right, I do. It's a very difficult thing to talk about, just because For one, Blackfish was very, very, of course, biased, and
Right.
there was many things in that may, not have been as true as people thought. But in turn, it
Right.
just created this entire culture that became so prominent. And when people's emotions go into something, as we all know, it just becomes a unshakable belief system. And so for
Right.
so many people, after seeing that, and even myself at first, because I wasn't too familiar with SeaWorld when I first saw Blackfish. So, when I first saw it, I was just horrified, and I was like, what can I do to like combat this terrible thing? But the more that I learned about SeaWorld, because I'm the type of person that I need to get both sides of the story. I need to, I need to just investigate the other side that I so strongly oppose before I continue to oppose it. And so I actually ended up talking to multiple people who worked at SeaWorld, and somebody came to work with me who used to work at SeaWorld. And through talking to them, it just became so obvious that these people love animals, that they, most of the things that seemed so terrible about that documentary were either things that never happened or things that stopped happening in the 70s, like taking the whales from the wild. That was something that was very quickly stopped. And so it just became so obvious that like most of the anger towards SeaWorld was unfortunately very blown out of proportion. And whether or not large cetaceans like killer whales should be in captivity is something that I'm still myself trying to figure out, just because I don't know a lot about these animals. I don't think a lot of people do, but I think certainly more good has come out of that program than bad. And so I think in many ways it's a little scary, just because I know that there's so many groups out there that oppose all zoos and aquariums. And as we all know here at the Turtle Room, zoos are just absolutely vital to conservation. They're just such an incredible tool, and there's really no kind of organization that can do the things that zoos do to that extent. A lot of private organizations are doing a really good job, but zoos have the resources to bring in animals that are disappearing. They have the resources to team up with the best people in the country or in the world to breed animals, and most of all is the education part of that. So many people that I work with at the aquarium became a marine biologist or an educator or somebody to work with animals because they went to SeaWorld and they saw that and they were inspired. Right. And so many people, especially like living in the city, you might never get the chance to go out and see those animals for yourself. And people feel so disconnected with them until they see them and they make that connection. And for so many people, they live such busy lives in, either on land and away from the ocean or out of the woods and, at the grocery store and at work, that it's so easy to forget about the other huge ecosystems and huge things out there that are happening every day until you see it recreated in a zoo. You can go to the aquarium and see a glimpse of being in the ocean with all this amazing stuff happening around you. And that has a huge effect on people, and it really makes them feel more connected and, like, wow, I was just reminded what I share my planet with, and I really want to know how I can stay connected to this, how I can learn more about it and start protecting it. So I think that as we maybe move away from zoos and aquariums as a culture who is angry at them for keeping animals in human care, it's going to ultimately make us move away from nature as a culture, which is scary.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely one of those things where, like you said, I mean, I live in Queens, New York, as many people know. Like I'm not near nature at all, and the only lifeline that I have to it is parks and the zoos. Like I go to like on Coney Island, they have the New York Aquarium, and like those type of things are the only connection that I have. If you're like you were saying, in a city person, like that's a lot of times the only option that you have, and like you said, it can be inspiring to go out. To make you go out and learn your thing. Like you said, you have to learn both sides of something. That's the only way that will spark you to have the information or to have the desire to do that. I do at the same time, the full disclosure, I feel bad a lot of times when I'm at the zoo too, where I just look around and I don't know, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong by enjoying this or whatever the thing is. So I don't know. That's not probably just my own stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I used to kind of feel. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
Did you finish your thought?
Yeah.
No, I used to feel kind of a little bit like torn, like, is this right? You know, before I worked at an AZA or Association of Zoos and Aquariums accredited institution, but going behind the scenes, and I mean, at least at the New England Aquarium, but you know, because it is such a standard and it's something that is implemented at every place with that accreditation, the level of care for those animals is almost ridiculous. Sometimes I was like, are we really going, like they would do a necropsy on like a periwinkle snail that had passed away, a little tiny or like a little sea star, just to make sure it was nothing that the aquarium did to cause that animal to pass away, and to make sure that they could prevent it if it was. But you know, there was when something did pass away, it was just a huge like, oh my gosh, this animal died, because it happened so infrequently. And
so they don't just put it in a shoebox and bury it behind the shed?
They don't flush down the toilet. Nope, none of that.
That's what we did. I don't know. I guess I wasn't accredited as a kid. I guess that was.
No, and yeah, the sharks don't fit as well as the goldfish. But like, it's just amazing. Like they have better health care than most people, and it's just like it's amazing how they really just go above and beyond to make sure that the animals are living the best quality of life. And I think the biggest thing to remember is that, you know, although we see these amazing places on, you know, in documentaries or even, you know, Disney movies and things like that, where we think we have an idea of how animals are living out in the wild, it's a very different story, unfortunately, nowadays, where, like, you know, just their habitats disappearing, there's so much just yucky pollution out in our oceans, so many more threats for them. It's just, it's a sad thing, and I think everybody ultimately who loves animals wishes that it was different, but, you know, and we all love to see animals in their natural habitat above everything else. But I think one of the things we all need to start realizing, maybe for better for the earth, is that animals are now generally safer in human care than they are in their own natural habitat, which is, you know, something that needs to be kind of an awakening for people.
Yeah, that's a scary. We've been talking about. We watched the. I think we've played it on the podcast. The John Mooallem TED Talk. I don't know if you saw that, but he's talking about how we're at a point where, with, you know, if we're the sixth extinction or whatever you want to call it, like if we're doing this to the environment, and everyone and every other species that lives in it has to be, we have to like rig their environment to keep them alive, even the species that are living in the wild. And that's like, you know, it shows like it's upsetting for the same reason of like, all right, well, you know, we're already have to do that in the wild. There's no such thing as the wild anymore, is what it comes down to. There's very small amounts. So I don't know what, you know, I don't even know what I could feel like confident saying, but you know, probably parts of the Amazon and most of the ocean. There's stuff that we don't know, most of the ocean, but there's a lot that we don't know about. But like, I mean, what's, you know, that's kind of an old idea anyway. So why not be upset, or why would you be upset about an animal that's being taken care of well in captivity? What were you say, Tom?
Well, species will survive or not based on our opinion or our view of them.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty sad. But
which is why it's important to not portray penguins so great anymore, because years of this survival.
They don't deserve it as much as the snakes do.
Exactly. They're the ones who really need our help. It's right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm laughing because that's not widely accepted.
Exactly. No, it's interesting.
We're getting there.
It is so interesting to think about, like, the animals that warrant the most conservation and maybe the ones that don't or do deserve it, quote unquote. It's an interesting thing, because, you know, here in Atlanta we have one of the only zoos that have pandas, and as most of us know, pandas are kind of the poster child for an endangered species and a species that humans have helped from the brink of extinction. But for a lot of people, especially for me as like a conservationist, for the longest time I was so frustrated with the amount of help and money and efforts putting into panda conservation, because for people who know about pandas are like trying to go extinct. You know, they don't want to breed, they eat bamboo and they're not supposed to, and all these different things. But I recently read an article that talked about how pandas, although, you know, they might not be this important keystone species, and if anything, it's been so much more trouble to keep them around. They've been a really great umbrella species for everything else in their habitat. So, you know, the whole entire habitat that pandas exist in China is protected. So that means every animal that lives around the panda has been protected too. So it's an interesting idea of like just finding that one species that you can use as the umbrella for the entire habitat, which is definitely pretty hopeful.
It's like 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. We cared about the pandas, so we did something, and then because the pandas were there, it fixed the salamanders, and because the salamanders were there, whatever the salamanders' primary diet is, I don't even not even know, tadpoles, whatever they eat. I'm just kidding. It's and then Kevin Bacon birthed tadpoles, so that's how it always connects.
Right.
Always goes back to Kevin Bacon. All roads.
It does. I can't help it. So we started talking a little bit about how you kind of got into animals or why animals, and we talked a little bit briefly about like some of your influences and your heroes in conservation. Did you want to tell me a little bit more? I kind of want to hear from you the story of why animals, why this life. Yeah.
It's very innate. It's always been like, as soon as I realized that there was other life forms that were not humans, I was just like, that's much cooler than humans. 'Cause humans to me are so boring. Like anatomy in class, human biology, I was just like it was just so boring because I felt like, I don't know anything about human anatomy or medicine or anything, but I just feel like I know enough because I am one. So animals were always just so much more interesting to me than anything else. And it was just, I feel like the first time I realized that that they were something different than me, I was just hooked. So everything from, as a baby, just being like dogs, cats, zoo, everything was just wonderful to me. So of course, very quickly became, from being like an all animal lover to having these special moments with animals that maybe, ended up needing me. Like when I was, I think I was maybe 5 and I was outside playing in the yard barefoot, and back when you didn't have to be monitored every 2 seconds by your mom. So my mom wasn't there to tell me to scream or be scared when I found my first snake, and it just kind of crawled on my foot, and I picked it up and I was like, this is amazing. And I think a lot of the time people are taught to be afraid of snakes by their mom, who again was like, put that down, but my mom wasn't there. So for me it was a really magical moment, and I fell in love with snakes and other reptiles. And then, I really fell in love with like the ocean when I went out with my dad on a deep sea fishing trip, and we saw like a basking shark and all these really cool whales and things like that. And so just having those little moments in my life where I was in nature and I was just surrounded by animals were substantial to my character. And so learning about animals and just being obsessed with them leads you right into learning about, what the risks that they're facing are. And for me, it was just, always going to be like this thing that I needed to do. It's almost a burden sometimes. I just have to.
Because you're naturally inquisitive, so once you have an interest in something, so you have to find out about it.
Pretty much, yeah. I just like make myself learn everything about it, and so I can't really just turn a blind eye to all the things that I find out. And for better or worse, I just kind of have to do what I can to help them.
Right. So you were 5 years old when you saw your first snake, and you remember it. You remember the experience.
Oh yeah, it's like one of those things that if I could paint, I would just paint it, because it's like just like this amazing, like, this isn't a caterpillar, like, what is this? And it just like, little tongue sticking out.
What kind of snake was it? A garter snake?
I think it was a garter snake. Yeah. And it was just amazing to me. And then I went in and told my mom, and she's like, "Did you get bit?" And I was like, "No, of course I didn't. Why would it bite me?"
Right. Yeah, you would have no idea. Yeah, you would have no idea. Like you were saying, the social cues. That was actually I read an article about the way that cats think. It was about cat cognition and how like it was like why we don't know anything. Like one of those articles. But they were talking about how cats pick up on social cues of their owners more than we think. Like if we don't, like if they did an experiment where they turned on a vacuum, and like obviously cats are scared of vacuums. So if the cat wasn't sure to be, if he wasn't sure to be scared or not, he would look at the owner, at his owner, and then back and forth, and like he would.
That's so funny.
Then the cat was like reacting. Yeah, so like it's picking up on social cues is like good for you that you had a moment where you were alone and didn't have any social burden.
Exactly.
Imagine how different your life would have been.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's a lot of times you just get kind of influenced how to feel if you don't know how to feel in that moment. That's a really good connection. Absolutely. So it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. And of course, I thought I was the biggest freak in the world, and all of my classmates just completely reinstated that. Like, yes, Amanda, you are the biggest freak in the world because you painted a snake, and all of us painted snow leopards and ponies and stuff. And the first time that I actually
Somebody
felt
painted
like
a snow leopard? That's pretty cool, actually, too.
it wasn't that good. It was just like it said snow leopard on it. All the cool animals, seahorses and stuff.
Right.
And so the first time I actually felt like I wasn't that weird was seeing like Steve Irwin on TV. It was just like, oh wow, he's an adult and he's doing what I'm doing, so that's kind of cool. I guess that's a possibility for when I grow up.
You brought up the legend. We need a 60-second moment of silence.
$60 seconds?
I thought you said 50 seconds.
Moment that's not a moment of silence. That's
a minute of silence.
Of silence.
Several moments of silence for Steve.
He deserves it, but
he does deserve it. But all right, no one wants to hear us breathe.
He deserves it, but our viewers don't. Yeah.
Who else? So Steve Irwin is you would consider an influence. Who else is? Give me someone else that you feel like when you started to explore, you found this person's work and they changed you.
Besides Steve Enders, yeah.
Steve Enders, Steve Irwin, the obvious ones.
All you guys, yes.
You don't have to go over those.
No, definitely like I mean, of course, like Archie Carr, like his turtle work is once I started really getting into turtles. But something that I found that's like literally like I feel like she's like my soul sister, and I kind of want to be like her. Her name's Carol. I always pronounce her last name wrong. Ruckteschel. And you guys might have heard of her. She's for like the Cumberland Island lady. She's just crazy, and she totally reminds me of myself. Basically, she like started out just kind of like loving wildlife and wanting to be like a kind of like a real biologist, and then she just totally lost her mind for the island of the Cumberland Island actually off the coast of Georgia, and she just fell in love with the sea turtles there and all the wildlife.
Is it in the Gulf or is it in the ocean?
It's in the ocean.
It's okay.
I think so, at least. Yeah, it's like right on the coast of Georgia, kind of like a little bit further down. At least I'm not very good at geography. I hope that's where it is. I know it's in Georgia, technically.
Georgia, gotcha.
Big sea turtle island, though. Big population of loggerheads there, and for the longest time there just was no protection there for them. A lot of like entanglement and fishing gear, a lot of like just destroying of the nests and stuff. So she's the one who set up the protected area there for them. And she still like lives there. She just like rides around on the wild horses and eats like roadkill and like has a gun and will shoot anybody who like comes to mess with the sea turtles. And she's like a vigilante, and she just completely like abandoned the like society for these turtles. And I feel like she's like my plan B. Like if everything else doesn't work, I'm just going to live on an island with sea turtles, and I'm just going to be this crazy sea turtle vigilante. And so I love.
It does seem like it would be a really cool life.
It is. She's so cool, and she's so like she's just like too passionate that she just let it overcome her completely. And she's actually a biologist. She does like necropsies on the beaches. She's collected tons of data. She's written books. There's actually a great book about her, which is what spurred me into learning about her. I feel like there should also be a movie about her. She's so cool. It's called Untamed by Will Harlan. And it's just such a good book, and it's about her life. But she's just like the coolest person ever. I just love her passion for wildlife.
I think I'm nominating that for a Turtle Room Book Club podcast episode. I think that because I looked into her a little bit, and I saw just like reading the blurb on that book. It seems like it's right up my alley. I would love to read it. She sounds like a very interesting person.
She's still there now? She's still there being a vigilante on the beach?
She's like 72. And
she's old, right? Yeah.
She's awesome. This is like who I want to be when I grow up. 100%.
Is she interested in younger guys, or do you
probably
think?
Yeah, that's apparently how she is too. But she like was being abused by one of her husbands, and she killed him. So just be careful.
Yeah, I read that.
She's cool. I like her. She's like a no nonsense like sea turtles, and that's about it. I love her.
Where is she? Is she from the South, or is she?
I think so. Yeah, I think she's from like the outskirts of Atlanta. Like she was.
Sounds like it.
That's it. Yeah, that's what I feel like. That it kind of fits into like the no nonsensey. That makes sense. She's got a little bit of pizzazz. Yeah.
Fried green tomatoes.
All right, so I'm officially nominating that book. Tony, Steve, we're gonna have to get our hands on that. You've already read it, I'm assuming, Amanda.
Yes. Yeah, I would totally read it again, though. It's awesome.
I think we should do that.
Nerd alert.
Oh, sorry, Tony. Reading is you start from the top left and you work your way to the bottom right.
They have audiobooks now too for those who.
Or you can listen to a nice gentleman or lady speaking to you also. All right. So who else would you feel like? I know. So you mentioned Archie Carr, who I'm not really familiar with Archie Carr. I don't know if you want to expound.
Peter
on that a little
Pritchard's
bit.
mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is the best book ever written on turtles. I know that's a lot, but Handbook of Turtles, this book is so good.
And then he's got the entire, is it down in Florida, the center that he's got down there? Yeah. And it's just like a place where people go and do turtle research. And
Yeah, there's the Archie Carr. There's an entire refuge for sea turtles named after him too.
When I went to visit,
Like only sea turtles that are named Archie Carr can go there.
right?
Yeah, the Carr brand turtle.
I think that's a very important point, and sea turtles should be named. Like all animals in our care should be named, and this brings us to, I think this is a good time to do a little bit of an exercise that we were planning on doing. Does anyone have anything they needed to say before we do this?
Yes, I have an objection.
You had stuff you needed to say?
I just quickly wanted to say that when I visited Peter Pritchard at his home, he was most excited. So this is a place with monster alligator snapping turtles, with shells of and specimens of extinct turtles and tortoises, like ridiculously amazing things that I wanted to cry when I saw. But the most exciting thing that he wanted above all else to point out to me personally was the oil painting portrait of Archie Carr that he had hanging in the second story of the main building there. I just thought that was so cool because I've read so much about what he's written about Archie Carr, and I've read a lot of Archie Carr stuff. So I just want to say that I thought it was the coolest thing to see how excited he was to point that out to
I
me.
want to go there so bad.
You need to go there.
How do I do that? Do I just like message him?
No, I have a person I can put you in contact with. It's in Oviedo, Florida, which is like Orlando. So it'll be a it'll be a bit of a hike for you, but it'd be worth it to do it sooner than later too.
That sounds so cool. You need to go
you
there.
love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They have the largest collection of preserved specimens, like 13,000 preserved specimens. Yeah.
That's so cool. I got to go to the back room of the Harvard Natural History Museum in Boston, so all the like really cool specimens. And I got to go to the herpetology department because I knew I ended up being able to get in contact with the curator, and it was so cool. They had like Galapagos tortoise shells from like when the actual like they would be brought on the ships with stuff carved in their shell, which is like sad but really cool. And just every type of turtle in a jar you could ever want to see. It was like he said it was going to be like a half hour, and we ended up being there for like an hour and a half. But we were both nerding out. It was awesome.
That's so cool. Wow,
that is cool.
You can switch now, John. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, I didn't mean to cut. I didn't mean to cut any of that off. But so we had. I have a specific talent. I think that I'm pretty good at this. I'm very good at pairing names, as in pet names, to a pet or a type of pet. I think that I'm can be a pretty good judge of if it's a good name and so on. So Amanda has several animals that she works with at home within the confines of her apartment, correct?
I do, yes. I have, I think, like 15 now.
15?
So.
Oh, you didn't give me that many names.
I tried to go easy on you, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, good. All right, so we know you have 2 that are non-reptiles, correct?
Yes, I do.
And those are?
Oliver and Bryn, and they're dogs, 2. I have a corgi, he's Oliver, and then I have like a little mutt, and her name's Bryn. Okay, so based on those 2, just so I have some sort, I'm not going into this blind, and Tony and Steve, you guys are going to have to guess too, so just, I'm clearly going to get more correct, but
I'm ready.
You guys will have to.
I'm ready for this. Let's go.
All right. So take me through why you named the 2 dogs those names. So I'm trying to get a little bit of behind the curtain.
Yeah, it's not going to be very helpful. The way I name things is just if I like the name, and if they look like the name, they get that name. Is no colors or like.
No, that says something though. That says something.
You're screwed, John. That's what it says. You're screwed.
Basically.
I certainly hope that that's not the case. All right. So Oliver is a Welsh corgi.
Mm-hmm.
Corgi.
And Bryn is a mutt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So I know generally the type of animals that you keep outside of that. Obviously, they're reptiles. I think I have a general idea, but we're just gonna leave it as that's you can confirm that, right? Reptiles is the rest of reptiles.
The rest are reptiles, yes.
No fish, no amphibians.
Left my 2 frogs out of it. Yep.
Left your 2 frogs out of it. All right. So you've given me 6 names, of which we're gonna start with Marlowe.
All right.
Now, the type of animal, for me, what jumps out to me, Marlowe, I feel like I see an older man. I feel like I see an old, rugged man.
All right.
Muscular, outdoorsy. So the type of reptile that I'm thinking is that is going to be a tortoise. And don't say anything yet. I'm going to guess, I'm feeling smaller than a large, so I'm thinking it's a Russian tortoise. Now, Tony, Steve, I don't know if you guys know. Do you guys know?
I have the answers.
Oh, right, Steve. All right, so you can't guess. That's right. You have the answers. I forgot. All right, so Tony, what type of animal do you feel Marlowe is? I feel like you're grinning like the I don't like this. You know.
This is so exciting. No, I don't know anything. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think that Amanda has many. Well, I'm not going to say anything else. I do. You actually guessed a specific species.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought we were guessing we can go general or more general, but
We can go generaler. I would guess that Marlowe is a snake.
All right. You guys don't want to phone a friend or anything?
Is that Marlowe?
That's little old Marlowe.
Damn it!
Yep. He's a few months old. He's a roughneck monitor.
Very cool.
You got the rough part right, John.
That does. I knew that you had monitors. I didn't think that Marlowe was one of them. Monitors are great though.
They're awesome.
Love that. It's a good name, Marlowe.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Yep, there he is.
John, who sings the classic hip hop song "Roughneck"? Is that Lady of Rage?
I believe so. Yes. That would be a great. See, now that's where we would definitely be going down that path.
Yep.
Right. That basically would get a female roughneck monitor and name it Lady of Rage.
Something nominal. Yeah, it would have to be. Yeah, exactly.
It has to be all connected. Yep.
I like Marlowe.
Is there something behind Marlowe? What did you just went with it? That was another one, or
felt like it.
All these are going to be just something that you just.
Yeah, it's just like I wanted a good name for like an animal that's going to end up being like this big, silly lizard on a leash that's like an education animal. Like Marlowe, there he is. That's it.
That's good. Yeah, Marlowe. Oh, it's a good exclaimed name.
Yeah,
Is Marlowe
exactly.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
And anytime I like.
Oh, is that a name? Is Marlowe a name?
Yeah,
Obviously.
Is that just short for Marlon Brando?
Yeah.
No, it's like an
No,
actual
it's a name. It's the name of her roughneck monitor. You big.
No, but I mean, like, is there someone actually named Marlowe?
There's
Marlowe?
a restaurant out
Marlowe
here in
Brando.
Georgia called Marlowe's Tavern, and that's actually where I first heard it.
Oh.
And everybody around here was like, you named him after
So it's
Marlowe's
named
Tavern.
after your local tavern.
Yeah. I guess
Tavern.
so. It's like a small
That's
chain.
cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
I like it. All right. Next animal. Next animal is the name Tallulah.
Ooh.
Now,
I love it.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm very fond of it. You're great. I hate this name. I do not like the name at all.
I
Don't
love
know what it goes to,
So
so there's a
cute.
chance to redeem. But you can defend if you need to defend yourself. That's fine. That's just my thoughts. Tallulah. It seems like the name of like a French bulldog that a hipster person is going to be walking around in Brooklyn. I feel like I've met a dog named Tallulah. And it just
Tallulah's a snake.
That's so funny. No, it's actually the place where I heard it is there's like this beautiful waterfall place here in Georgia called Tallulah Falls. So it was, and then I realized it was a little hipstery, but it's still funny because when she does something that is like I mean, not that it matters, but sometimes it's funny, like because she's very pesky, so I'll yell at her, and it's funny to yell Tallulah. Like, Tallulah.
I think our
Okay,
friend
so this has
Alan
got to
had
be
a
so.
name to
So
Oh,
this is another monitor then. Tallulah.
he would. It's a snake.
It's a snake. Anthony's just gonna say snake until he eventually gets it right.
Apparently.
Eventually
He's going to say it
it'll
until he
be.
gets it right.
Here's
Damn it!
Tallulah.
Oh.
Silly girl.
Crap. Oh, you know what though? She looks like a Tallulah.
She is a
You're
totally
right.
a
You're right
Tallulah.
about that actually.
She's hilarious.
Why
Diamondback
is she
terrapins
pesky?
are like
You threw me off with pesky. That's why I was like, oh, this is definitely another monitor.
she's the type of turtle that I'm sure you guys all have this turtle where as soon as you even walk near the room, she's like trying to get food. Like she's like a dog, and she's just always begging for food.
Diamondbacks are known as the puppy dogs of the aquatic turtle world.
You can't take a photo.
Diamondbacks are known as the puppy dogs of the aquatic turtle world.
I feel like I coined that because they follow me. They're all target trained. Where like if I'm trying to like do something in their tank, they will try to bite me just because they want food so badly. So I try to sometimes put like a pair of like red tongs in there to indicate, okay, we're gonna be taking you out for feeding and stuff like that because they will just go crazy for food and nothing has really. Some things have worked.
When Tony and I were in college, I literally had to do that to him with pool cues. I had to keep him away during meal times, or if I needed to go into his room, like I had to have 2 pool cues, and I had to keep them, get them out of the way. So I totally understand keeping. It's
efficient. Yeah, they use it in all the zoos, and it's very good for making animals aware that it's a time to feed or time to not. So it can be very effective.
Not always time to feed, Tony.
They'd have to use tranquilizers on chicken parm night. I was savage. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Savage.
Next name is Charlie.
Definitely a snake.
Charlie is a great name.
Charlie's
I will say that I
classic.
love the name Charlie.
Charlie.
My first thoughts are snake. I think.
No, I already guessed snake first on this one.
Doesn't matter. You're just saying
now
vague
since you both
things.
said snake, now you got to get more specific.
No, that's what
I'm gonna guess this one.
I'm thinking it's something big. This is probably one of your cooler things. I'm guessing retic.
I'm gonna go ahead and guess that this is a reptile.
I think Tony
Anthony
wins.
goes more general.
Right.
Probably a organism of some sort.
Is this in the family Animalia?
He's just a baby retic, but he will be cool.
Oh, he is a retic. All right.
Yeah, he's a baby, so he's not like a huge.
I mean, it looks like a retic, but its eye doesn't look like a retic. Is that a normal? Is that a normal retic?
So it's normal for he's a sunfire, which is like a genetic morph, so it might be for that morph, I guess. Yeah,
well,
I don't know much about
it. I also thought that retics had the line in their eye.
Oh, his pupils are like dilated because he's a little nervous. But yeah, it's so funny. Like a lot of people think that snakes have different eyes and stuff, but it all depends on how their pupil dilates, which is why it's not a good idea to use that to identify like a venomous reptile, because sometimes their eyes are different if they're dilated.
Oh. So when their eye dilates, it goes from a line to more of a circular or spherical. Wow.
Yeah.
I picture like the turning circular glass thing when you're getting your eye exam at the eye doctor, and it turns.
Is it the one that puffs you in the eye?
Not that one, but I was just talking to my wife about that today. No, when they turn it, they say 1,
Right.
2,
yeah.
or
and when it switches from one to the other, it goes from a straight line to a circle.
Right. Yep.
Sorry, I took that out.
That's one correct for me.
How'd you guess retic? That was really.
I've seen her with a retic on Instagram, so I figured she had a cool. I know she had some cool ones.
Mm-hmm.
Is that even legal?
Yeah, nailed it.
Next, what?
It was legal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, they're very legal. Of course, those are all the coolest animals.
Very elite.
Next name is Butterscotch. John's general comments about the name could go either way. Depends on the animal. I think it's a ballsy name. I'm just curious as to how it's gonna fit. But I like it. I like that this is where you went with it. Tone, do you have a guess? Because I'm not really sure. Are you ready?
I'm gonna say that Butterscotch is a bearded dragon.
Solid guess.
I feel so stupid even guessing.
I was thinking. I think it has 4 legs. Down Definitely not a snake. Butterscotch. I was thinking. I'm thinking it's another monitor, which I know I guessed monitor 3 times already, but. Oh no, I didn't. I only guessed monitor once. Okay, yeah, I'm saying butterscotch is a monitor. It's a Savannah monitor.
All right. Good solid guess.
Let's see butterscotch. Ring.
Tortoise.
She
Okay.
has so many turtles and tortoises.
The name is great. It fits perfectly.
Yeah. Yep. You can go either way with that name. It had to be used for like the perfect thing, but I think it worked out here.
What type of tortoise is this?
A yellowfoot.
Oh, yellowfoot. Good.
Beautiful. What is he eating there?
We got some like tortoise feed. I think it's like the Zoomed. And then we've got some collard greens, little strawberry in the back.
No, right. You're in Atlanta, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Next name. I thought that was funny. Collard greens is a southern dish. Okay.
I didn't hear you
Thomas.
say that.
Thomas is the next name.
He's a tank engine.
How do you cook them?
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
I like Thomas. I like having especially if you have a lot of animals. I like having at least one that just is a regular people name. I don't like everyone to be named people names. I like that's why I like butterscotch. That's why I like Tallulah.
Use them
Marlowe,
exactly.
My 3-striped mud turtle that's named Big Ange. Rest in peace.
That's a great one named after a specific human.
I like naming them. We also have Spangler Eye baby Spangler Eye.
That your wife named.
My wife named Robbie and Hank Mardukas.
Oh, and don't forget Evan, who she named after her hairdresser.
No, after her nail technician.
Oh,
Evan.
nail technician. Sorry.
Evan.
Which is great because he's from China. He is actually. She would all the time call her nail technicians Chinese, and I'd say, I'm not really sure. I think you might be, that might be discriminatory to just call all your nail technicians Chinese. But I went and looked, and I spoke to Evan specifically, man to man, and he's from China.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which is great because that's the range.
It just goes right along with it. Yeah, it's funny because like everybody's like, oh, who is Thomas named after? He's actually named after a wonderful moray eel that I work with at the aquarium. So he's not even like one
named
human
after
named
another animal.
Passed to another. Exactly. Yeah. So.
Well, how did Thomas the moray eel get his name though? That's the
he
hard
did get it from
Kevin
a human.
Bacon gave it to him.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Bestowed it upon him.
Okay, I'm Thomas. I'm going with a snake. Going back to snake, and I'm going with. Do we need to say species? Tony, you're not even really playing this game, and I'm a little bothered by it.
When you do the species, it's very impressive. So you can go for that. Like the reach thing, that was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, he was stalking your Instagram.
He studied.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh.
All right. Just because I prepared. All right, Thomas. I think Thomas is a blood python. Thomas the blood python.
Solid guess. All right.
I'm going to say...
Oh! He put it up before Tony guessed.
Oh, good.
He's a boa
I still don't even know what it is, though.
That's a red tail.
Oh.
Yep, he's a red-tailed boa. Little baby.
I was really hoping you had a blood python.
No, I love blood pythons, but I don't have one at right now, at least.
Yeah, maybe next week.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing with me. Oh yeah.
That's just a regular red tail, or what are we?
Yeah, he's like het for albino, but it's no like visual thing. So right. Yeah.
Het for greatness.
All right, one left.
Last one. Okay, so this is I'm going in a different direction with this
Winner
one.
takes all on this one. Winner takes all. Winner takes
no, but
all.
You haven't gotten any right. I got one right.
It doesn't matter. That's how they
Winner
do
does
these
not
things.
take all. Winner does
You
not
watch
take
the Tonight Show?
Maybe if I also lose, if I also don't get it.
Yeah, that's the yeah. This is Family Feud. Whoever wins the last round. Yeah.
Okay.
I could steal right now.
The name is Zuzu, after Zuzu's petals from It's a Wonderful Life.
It's actually that's it. That's really what it's named.
Boom. Okay, so that's I already have partial credit. That's 2 for me and 0 for Tony. So
that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Been mathematically eliminated from the race.
That's like
Winner
the only
takes
thing
all right here.
I think that Zuzu is
Winner takes all
an
right here.
iguana. Zuzu is an iguana.
Okay, Zuzu the iguana.
I'm going to say that Zuzu is a Eurymastix.
Wow, two very
Molly?
specific.
I didn't specify, and I'd appreciate it if we kept it that way.
It's a lot of different ones, yeah.
Oh, it's a day gecko?
No.
She is a
Leaftail?
Leachianus, lychee gecko. She's not as big as she'll get. She's like a little juvenile, but that is Zuzu.
That is a good name. That is a good. It fits.
So,
What's a
yeah,
leaftail?
thank you.
Retadactylus?
Yep. Leachianus.
That is beautiful. So okay, so those are six of your animals that you keep and work with. What else do you have?
A day gecko is the Geico gecko.
That's it. Yep. Nice.
That's a day gecko. I just wanted John to know that.
Mm-hmm. He's up
So
on his geckoology.
I think the Geico gecko is the gecko.
It's a day gecko.
Yeah, my mom calls all my geckos Geikos. She's like, "How are the Geikos doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're good."
Classic
Oh,
old mom.
Mom, you'll never understand.
Go ahead.
Classic. Yeah, she'll never get it. I have 2 lychee geckos. I have a green tree python. I have 5 diamondback terrapins. I have a redfoot tortoise and a yellowfoot tortoise. I have the retic, Charlie. I have 2 boas, Shiloh and Thomas. And I have 2 white tree frogs. And I think that's it. Is that it? And then Marlowe.
And Marlowe, right.
Marlon Brando.
What are the tree frogs named? Amphibians are harder to name than reptiles.
They are, yeah. They can be tough. Their names are Yuki and Ren.
Ren. How's Ren spelled?
R-E-N-N.
Oh.
Like Kylo Ren from Star Wars.
Oh, okay, good. That's what I was going to say.
Not like the bird. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
Just impress those 2 guys.
W-R-E-N is pretty weak, yeah.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren. So you're a big Star Wars fan. You named an animal after a Star Wars character.
There's only one N in Kylo Ren, however.
Oh, who's a bigger Star Wars fan?
It's named after Kylo Ren, but it's my own spin on it. Okay, let's do that. How about?
There you go.
Classic.
Yeah.
Such a stickler.
Mhm. Yeah.
So is that? Hold on. So
I'm a Star Wars nerd.
Right. Well, so
I never would have guessed it.
we have 3 Star Wars nerds in this conversation.
Who's not
Tony,
the Star
you
Wars?
don't care about Star Wars, right?
No, I appreciate it for what it is, a movie. Get over it.
Right. You're not a
He's
Star
not like a
Wars
Star Wars
nerd, though.
hater.
Right.
No, I'm not a hater. No, I'm not a hater. No.
I think Star Wars haters are only haters because they don't actually know about Star Wars and they don't want to take the time to watch it. So like, I hate it. Like, you don't. You
I
never
agree.
even
No, I
watched
don't hate it at all. I hate episode 1.
One,
Yeah.
2, yeah.
Yeah.
One's bad. 2's okay. 3 was really good.
I think 3 was good too. Thank you. 3 was good, but 1 is bad. That's okay though. It's fine.
I didn't like 3. I liked 1.
3 was good. I think you didn't like 3
Crazy.
because you cried and choked on your tears. That's okay.
I didn't like 3 because I feel like I just didn't like the way that they made him into Vader. But 1, I liked on the basis of I was just so excited that there was a new Star Wars that I didn't care that it was bad. So I liked it.
I was a little kid when 1 came out, so I actually at first, I liked it because it was like a little kids movie. So I got to I didn't have that initial disappointment because when I was little, I loved Star
That's
Wars.
why I didn't
and when
either.
that
Right.
came
I'm in the
out-
same boat.
Yeah.
Same boat.
Don't try to make the viewers think you're younger than you are, John.
I was like
Me too. Yeah, me too.
itty bitty baby when these things came out.
just
so
like
I
you
can't
were,
really.
yeah.
No, I was in high school. I was old enough to have known, but
Okay.
I didn't.
Yep.
But I didn't. So whatever. I was just excited. When you connect with a movie like that, you're excited when a new one comes out when you're a kid.
Exactly. Yeah.
John was
yeah.
6.
So
John was 6.
I feel like this is Star Wars. Star
Yeah,
Wars
me
is
too.
one
Me
of
too. I
those
was too
things-
young to know the difference. Yeah. I could dunk a
Georgia
basketball,
was
but I was
totally
too young.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's Star Wars is one of these things that is a stereotype of the nerd as well as being into reptiles and I wanted to know, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that correlations to other things. I feel like reptile people will, quote unquote, reptile people will people will assume you like Star Wars and people will assume that you like the type of music that you are a big fan of,
Yes.
which
It's
is
weird. I really like a lot of like rock music and metal. Believe it or not, a lot of
Right.
people are like, yeah. So it's all kind
Right.
of, yeah.
which is almost that is pretty stereotypical. Your interests are what we would say is normal for a turtle person.
I guess
For a
so. Yeah,
reptile
maybe.
person.
I don't know. Is that what all of you guys as turtle people like?
Well, that's what Tony. What is? I mean, do we agree? Disagree?
You're asking me?
Yes.
He's in shock
Yes.
again. He's in shock.
Yeah. What are you thinking of? Okay. Which ninja animal are you thinking of now?
No, but what's the question? I'm not sure how to answer. The question is, how is
It wasn't really a question. I was just wondering. It was a Scott Gibbons question. I was just saying something and waiting for you to respond.
Well, you can't make me,
So a lot of people. Amanda's a big fan of, as for instance, the band Tool or Rush. Those are examples.
I like
that
Rush.
Which, by the way, Amanda, I saw Rush last year in Vegas.
In May. I saw him in May last year.
In Vegas?
Yeah. No, not. But I saw him. Yeah. On that tour.
It was great experience. I've never been. I've never really listened to them, and they were. I was just randomly invited, and I went, and it was. Yeah, it was really.
Yeah.
But that's so Tony. That's like a stereotypical thing. But like, where someone like you, now you're also not into Star Wars as opposed to most other people. Are you the outlier of the reptile community? Do you like as far as your interest outside of animals go?
Yeah, probably. I like to consider myself an interesting individual that likes things that don't necessarily match. I use other people's creations to express my own individuality. Sure, yeah. But I think usually if you're a reptile person, where you're supposed to go with your music taste is more like Cannibal Corpse, something like that.
So you think harder than Rush and Tool?
I like more like progressive stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like Metallica a lot, but
a lot of black T-shirts.
Classically trained.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of black T-shirts with cutoffs.
Lots of tattoos.
Fat armpits. If a lot of people sport. Yeah, a lot of people sport the fat armpits. Yeah.
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 I think Metallica is a good example of. I think that's the perfect thing, like, of turtle people or like hobbyists who have like classically trained, and like you have to be like a biologist, like you have to have like an incredible degree, like you're classically trained, and then you use it to to mess around with turtles, and like Metallica's using it to mess around and be like down
picking. Oh yeah.
That's a good example. Good example.
Because it's like you just go in the direction that like you take your training, which might be very general, and then do that to go in a direction that really is your own, that comes kind of from your own like heart and what you really feel is all you. So
right. So, but is it? I guess where I was trying to go with this, but didn't really get there. Didn't really make sense. Is it a stereotype to say that that's something that reptile people are into, and anyone can answer that? I don't know.
Yes.
It is a stereotype, but I think it's because it happens so naturally. Maybe because it's like the type of person that you are just appeals to all that stuff, Like I don't listen to metal because I think it's what I should be listening to. I've like listened to it ever since I heard my uncles jamming on Metallica when I was like 5, and it just kind of spoke to me. So maybe it's just the type of person you end up being.
But there's a correlation to the fact that metal spoke to you and the fact that reptiles speak to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's because I'm an awesome person.
I think there's two options. There are people who will purposely seek out things that go against mainstream, what they're supposed to like, things like that. If you're a young girl and you're not supposed to like death metal, you're not supposed to like Snakes and that sort of thing. I don't think that's the case with Amanda. I will give her more credit than that because I know her and I think she's wonderful. But I think that there's also a type of person that's willing to be open to things that they're not supposed to.
Right. And I think it's because
Right,
because it makes them stand out and stuff. Like I used to get like beat up because I got my face painted as R2-D2 when I was when I was in kindergarten, and now it's like cool to like Star Wars.
The sweetest, most heartbreaking story I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, that
you got beat up for wearing R2-D2 makeup.
I was like, and everybody else is like a cat again, and now I'm like telling everybody, I'm like, it's actually cool to like Star Wars. Like I would have been the coolest kid ever back, if I had liked Star Wars at the right time.
Well,
but
that's kind of
definitely
part of the problem with Star Wars, though. Now is that I'm the new ones are great. I'm really happy with what it is, but the fact that it's cool makes it a little bit less cool for me.
yeah, you can't pick out the true
That's kind of a
fans from the
hipstery thing
ones
for me,
that
I
are.
guess.
So I said there are two different types of people: the person who wants to go against what they're supposed to like, John, and people who are open to other things, Amanda.
I'm open to things. I'm just saying, and that I naturally start to tend like if everyone is into something, I can't help it. I naturally start to think a little bit less of it, or be like, all right, well, if everyone likes this, then there must be some sort of problem with it.
You're naturally intensely worried about what other people are thinking. Yeah. Sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, and I'll just kind of like just a quick last touch upon I'm not very specifically like some people are like, no, I don't listen to anything but metal. Like I like Australian hip hop. I like 80s hip hop. I like a lot of different types of just old, like the Eagles are one of my favorite bands.
Love the Eagles.
You know, I mean, I listened to Fall Out Boy when I was in high school, and I'll still definitely admit they're good. So I'm
Fall Down Boys too.
Yeah. So anything that kind of appeals to me, I'm not scared to admit that I like it, just because it's a part of my persona. Because I don't really have a persona, you know what I mean? So.
Right.
I was close enough to a
Hotel
California album. I was just close enough on vinyl when you said that. Yeah, that's how much.
All we can see is the reflection of your computer on the vinyl. Can't see it.
Thank you.
No, I saw it. I can make that out anywhere.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. We got you hopefully plenty of info, and we've introduced well to Amanda. We just want to say again, welcome and thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And now is the portion of the podcast where we like to leave it to the viewer, or not the viewer, the guest, to say something profound to end it. So please do that.
Me?
You please, yes.
No pressure.
Okay.
Really,
I think because the person said viewer, so I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're going to comment something. Yeah, no, I'm super excited to see where I'll take this, because as a social media coordinator, I used to kind of think, oh, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. But it's such an amazing medium for just, getting information out there, sharing your passion, and expressing, things that you think are important, and then creating this whole huge community. And so I think that, just being able to really share my love for turtles, and then, what other people can do to really help us in our mission to conserve turtles is really exciting, because I think a lot of people don't realize that, there's so much that the average person can do to help in conservation. You don't have to be this really awesome turtle breeder like you guys. You can just be this average Joe that isn't quite as cool as, Steve and Anthony to help.
Wait, are you talking specifically about me? The average Joe is not as cool as them?
Exactly.
Yeah, just stop using plastic bags, John, and you'll be right up there on their level.
All right, guys, we really appreciate you listening. Amanda, really appreciate having you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Talk again soon.
Thanks. Have a good one.